Welcome to Let's Talk to Animals. Have you ever wished you could talk to animals? I have good news for you. You can. My name is Shannon. I'm with Animal Love Languages. This is Pearl, my ever-present 22-year-old feathered sidekick, and he never misses an episode. So today on Let's Talk to Animals, our YouTube series and podcast, we're going to do something a little different. Normally here on the series, we connect with leaders in the field of animal intuition, animal communication. We grill them to find out how they do what they do. What is it like to talk to animals? How can you get started? What's possible? How do you know you're doing it? But Anne Angelo Webb of Intuitive Touch Animal Care, she's back with us for episode number 2. You are our first repeat guest. So excited to have you back. So we actually have a video and a podcast already where Anne, thank you very much for sharing your beautiful wing and tail feathers. You go sit down there. You be the audience. So we actually already have an episode where Anne gives us all of the inside information about how she got started, her teachers, the early days, and how her animal intuitive practice has grown and evolved. So today I've invited her back to talk about alternative modalities, other options, kind of under the header of what is possible once we establish this dialogue, this two-way dialogue with an animal. You know, maybe some of the same things that help we humans might be beneficial for animals. And so today we're going to touch on topics like essential oils and CBD, energy healing work and crystals, acupressure for animals, massage for animals. And we're going to find out how some of these other disciplines may be of service to animals in all stages of life, maybe at different times, maybe as a complement to traditional veterinary care, maybe as standalone wellness tools to just improve quality of life and vitality for the animals we love so much. So, Anne, welcome
Thank
back.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm excited to be here. I've got my dog Kane, who is going to be a good, quiet boy. And
we know how that goes, right? Well, welcome to you both. I thought we'd start off with essential oils. You know, that's something that we've become increasingly aware of for people. You can't go anywhere without finding a diffuser and, you know, some essential oil, like, you know, gift pack somewhere. But, you know, how does that work when we start translating this into working with animals, especially when we're looking at different species, way different sizes, body parts in different places? Just can you give us kind of, and I also want to mention before I forget, which otherwise I will do, Anne has a free kind of an intro to essential oils for animal on your website. All you have to do is go and sign up for intuitivetouchanimalcare.com, sign up for Anne's e-newsletter, and you can download the free tool to get started with essential oils for animals. So I just wanted to pop that in there. But now if okay, I've done that. So now we can get started.
No, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great tool. It's free. It's just an ebook. You can download it. So a lot of people probably are familiar on some level with essential oils. And, you know, essential oils are extracted from the plant through this complicated process I won't get into right now, but they come from the plant. And they can help in a variety of ways. They can support humans and animals, both physically, emotionally, mentally. They just can be sort of amazing in the way that they work. The difference between using them with animals as opposed to using them with people is that a lot of times we're going to be diluting them. That's usually the major difference. There are some very few oils that you would choose not to use with animals, but it's really, even the oils that people say don't, or there's sort of rumors out there and these horror stories about like tea tree oil is the one. That's the one that everyone, there was some article that went out and it got blasted all over the internet several years ago. And that started a whole like rumor mill about using essential oils, especially with cats. Don't do it. Oh my gosh, you're going to kill your cat and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I still hear it. That's the amazing thing is like 10 years later, I don't even know when, that was a long time ago. And to this day, I still have people say to me, is it okay to use it with cats? I heard something about using. So here's what I'd say. First of all, consult with your vet. I am not a vet. I, can't tell you what to use with your animal, but I will tell you that there's certain sort of, there's information that I have taken from what I have learned from veterinarians. And so that's how I came up with my ebook. So, but, always check it out with your vet based on your pet's particular, they know your pet's health issues, et cetera, et cetera. So, there are veterinarians that will work with any and all oils. It's just a matter to them of how you're working with them. They've done extensive blood work and testing and, seen how these oils affect the animals, and they have found benefits, and they've just looked at like the levels of the oils, the purity of the oil. Is it, does it have pesticides where it was grown? Does it, that's the key. So there's sort of an understanding that the animals that have been harmed for the most part from these oils that we have these rumors about are animals that got exposed to oils that were not such great quality. And that to me is like where you want to start, is what is the quality of this oil? Please do, if there's one thing I can say, do not go to the local store and grab an oil off the shelf and put it on your pet, or put it in your diffuser,
or on yourself, maybe,
or even on yourself.
Really?
Exactly. Because even if it says on that bottle, pure essential oil, natural or essential oil, it means nothing. There are certain brands of oils, I personally use a brand of an oil that I trust, that you can, anybody here who's listening can feel free to reach out to me. They'll see the information on my website, that I've done extensive research. I've been with for like 10 years, I think I want to say, more than that, actually. I think maybe going on 15 years I've been using their oils, that I know absolutely 100% that they'll throw out tons, literally. Like I think they threw out a couple tons of an oil of batches of oil one time, and they've done it other times, but this was like tons because it didn't live up to their standards. So they have, multiple third-party testing. Those are the things you want to hear, that they have a level of integrity, of, commitment to the land that they're planting the seeds on. You'll hear things like seed to seal. So that means going back in the history of that land and making sure that nothing has been used there that could affect the plants that are being grown there now.
Okay.
So that's what you want to look for. So when we're using essential oils with animals, we really do a lot of the time we're using dilution. So what that means is that you're usually using some kind of a carrier oil. Yes. He's got his ball that he's chewing, and he
sure does.
So you're often using a carrier oil, and that information is in my ebook too. It kind of has some examples of that kind of a thing, that you would put maybe a drop or 2 drops, depends on the weight, the size, the age of the animal. So there's things you have to take into consideration. And people should, it's not like it's so over the top complicated, but you do want to have some kind of basic level of understanding, and not just go up to your dog and just start dumping oils on them. But generally speaking, if I was to use, for example, a lavender oil, essential oil with my dog. He's a big boy. He's a German Shepherd. He's probably right now like 80 pounds. I could use some of that straight with him. So I could put like a couple drops on my hand. I would just swirl it and I would pat it on his back, or I might put a little bit on his like ear tips. We tend to not put it on their paw pads because, for one thing, they might lick it off. And a lot of times it's actually okay, depending on the oil. But if they're walking around and if your home is not toxin free, like if you're using any kind of chemicals, and that's actually even more important to me than using essential oils, is to
That's
clean.
a good point.
Like start there, like because animals are so sensitive, and so are you, and so am I. We're picking this stuff up. It's affecting our hormones, it's affecting their hormones, it's affecting us. So cleaning out your home first. I do use a cleaning product that is from a company that makes cleaning products that animals can walk on, and literally if they end up licking their paws, I don't have to worry about it. So it's reassuring in that sense. But if an animal goes outside and they step in pesticides or whatever's out there, and that that can be sort of pulled in by the oil, we just don't want that. So we tend not to put it on their paw pads, and it doesn't need to necessarily go on their paw pads anyway, unless you're treating a specific thing, if you're using it for a specific thing to support them. So essential oils can be used in a diffuser as well. So, one bit of, something I would say is important is to make sure an animal can leave the area. So if you're using a diffuser, you just want to make sure that your animal has the ability to walk away if they don't want to be in that area anymore. So they're using a diffuser as opposed to putting it on the animal. Diffusers, are a really good way for people who are kind of shy about it or new to it, because it really provides great benefit. I mean, they're inhaling it. It's going through, through the skin, the ears, it's going through the fur, it's all getting absorbed. I mean, there's living, breathing beings that are taking in everything in their environment. So diffusers are a very safe and easy way to get started with using essential oils with pets. But, as I mentioned, you can, look into the sort of weight of your animal, use a guide like I have. There's also books out there that are, written even by veterinarians that are maybe a little bit more pricey, and, but if you want to invest in it and really dig in, some of these guides are, can be very helpful to finding out more about how to use the oils in certain animals, even birds. You can use them
birds,
yeah. Just, I have never actually applied an oil to a bird, but there's like, use just a toothpick amount, that's kind of one of the things that we do with birds, just small amounts, but do your research. So I'm wondering if you have any questions about it. And also there are oils that are made specifically for animals. Like the company that I like to work with does also have a specific line that's made for animals for certain purposes. They have an oil that I really love, actually, that's for I found it very helpful as to support their sort of well-being when they're under stress.
Well, we don't know anything about that, do we? Huh?
Yeah, and it's funny
Uh,
because I smell it and I feel relaxed too. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the biggest question is the one that you've answered, which is that, it's something that you don't just jump into. It's something that, just because it's natural, and of course a lot of terms like that, we really don't regulate them here in the US, and I'm sure, I don't know how many other countries do it, but yeah, I don't know that the regulation is particularly strict anywhere right now for these so-called alternative or natural remedies. Just because something is natural doesn't
right.
mean it isn't potent. I mean, it's easy to forget that, our wonder drug aspirin came from white willow bark. It's like a lot of the
Mhm.
modern medicines that we have today, the opioids that are under such strict regulation and restriction come from, plants and flowers, and
Right.
there's, of course, there are synthetic versions of everything, and that's kind of the danger zone you get into when you're talking about, what brand of essential oil are you using, and is it even real essential oil, or is it parfum or some kind of
Right.
fragrance or chemicals and things like that, and really kind of digging down and doing your research. So it's not something to just jump into, but it is something that can be potent and deliver, and really, starting with the lowest possible dose, and really
Mhm.
remembering the size of
Yeah.
your 80-gram animal
Yeah.
versus, um, maybe 100 pounds, 200 pounds, it just really factoring that in, and then just considering the delivery method and understanding how our own use of essential oils may impact our animals, whether, we were particularly intending to use it on them or not. So these are all excellent points. I feel like this is kind of a natural place to jump into the hot button topic of the what we call the, I don't love the word alternative, but the, let's say, the less rigorously tested using Western scientific methods field of holistic health and wellness, which of course is, ta-da, CBD. So let's
CBD.
talk about, yeah, let's talk about, I happen to be a fan. I have a couple little roll-ons, one that I use for pain and one that I use for sleep. And definitely if I wander into the grocery store, like our local Sprouts, and they happen to have a few testers out for different CBDs, I might, you never know how many of them I'll be wearing by the time I visit the store. But let's talk about CBD for animals specifically. And, just, let's say I come to you with an animal. I have four. I have a box turtle, I have a redfoot tortoise, I have a standard dachshund who weighs about 30 pounds, and of course, Mr. 80 grams here. So let's say I come to you and I say, I'm interested in the benefits of CBD for my crew. Where would we start?
Yeah. So, again, it's good to educate yourself about the different, just kind of getting down to basics and finding out, what is a CBD, cannabinoid oil? Where does it come from? And they've actually found that we all sort of have these pathways, and we can all benefit from them. Like, they've even seen that to some degree we've been missing them in our systems. So they can benefit both internally as well as topically. Um, I haven't seen as many topical, and I have to admit, I need at some point to look into buying a topical one for my animals. I haven't yet, probably because I'm so used to using the essential oils, and I have a cold laser use, so I just haven't gotten into using the topical. I've used um, a CBD balm for myself. It's excellent, from the same place I get my essential oils. It's awesome. But I wouldn't use that with my pets, actually, because of the amount of essential oils in it and some other things, the way that it wouldn't be good to put them on pets. It's not made for them. But there are some companies. So again, you want to make sure that when you look into the way that they from where they plant them. Are they certified organic? Are they, what's their commitment, their level of commitment to making sure that the product is pure, truly pure, and not just a label that they slap
Right.
on it.
Right.
So I have found a CBD that I like to use for pets. I do have that on my website.
Awesome.
It links through there, and if people have questions, they can always ask me about it. And that just came from doing a lot of research, comparing different reviews, seeing the effects, because some people will talk about, well, this really helped my pet with this issue, like their anxiety or their stress. This helped more with arthritis. So some of this stuff, there are veterinary prescribed. I'm not sure how many there are. I've only come across one. There could be more than that though. There are veterinarian prescribed ones that you have to go through your vet to get it.
Okay.
That's been studied, that they can claim and say that this has been proven to do XYZ. But you do have to get that prescribed by your vet. Perhaps it costs a little bit more, perhaps you don't want to go that route, and you can go out and get it on your own. So that personally is what I've done so far with my animals, and that's been adequate. But please do talk to your vet and see if there's any reason that they don't want you using one of these, either through me or through your pet store or online, whatever. Just make sure they're okay with it. But so they can do a variety of things. They can support them emotionally. I will pretty diligently now give my animals CBDs about, if I have the alert now, thank the Lord above for the thunder alert on the phone.
Nice.
Nice. So I give them the CBDs about 30 minutes. I try to do it about 30 minutes ahead of time, so it really sinks in and they're already in that relaxed state before the thunder and lightning comes. And I find that really helps. It really gives them a nice, they do pretty well with the thunder and lightning by having the CBDs in their systems. Going to the vet, of course, you do want to make sure they don't have anything coming up like blood work that the vet doesn't want them having something in their system that could affect it or what have you, any testing. But car rides, if you have an animal that just struggles with trips, can help a lot with that. Issues with animals that just have difficulty with other animals or going out, maybe you got a new animal and you're finding that animal can be sort of reactive when they go out for their walks. It can be another way to use it. Barking issues, just different behavioral issues, animals that are even reactive in the home. So arthritis, different things like that. I'm not saying that these essential oils are like, stamp of approval, that these have approval for use with. I'm just saying that you may find that they can help with these issues. Personally, that's what I found with I have a dog who's got a chronic issue because of an accident he had before we got him. So he needs assistance with Kane, the German Shepherd, he has like a limp and everything. So I wonder if is there any questions so far as I babble on?
Yeah, no, this makes perfect sense. I think it was really, no, it really does. It makes perfect sense. And it also reminds me again, it's like CBD. I like that you're highlighting, talk to the vet, especially if your pet is on any medicine already, because because CBD again is plant-based, it's natural, doesn't mean that it's not potent, and there can be interactions. And it's important to make sure that it doesn't interfere with or inadvertently cause something you weren't anticipating.
Right.
And it's, again, I feel like it's important to emphasize, like you said, just starting out like we started when we were started talking about all this, starting out small and just
Right.
really taking into account the size of the animal. And I like how you pointed out, and this is where my question's coming from, talk about babbling, but the different strains, because CBD isn't just one thing. Like there's actually, I don't even know how many, but aren't there like, there's
I'm not
a
sure.
lot of different
Yeah.
strains. There's a lot of, I don't know that anybody is sure yet. There's a lot of different naturally occurring chemical compounds in these different related plant families. And now I did read something about how there are also human-made cultivars that, the hybrids, just like we tried to create a
Yeah.
seedless watermelon or whatever. Now people are finding out, somebody wants a strain that is very low in THC, which is the psychoactive compound in marijuana. So there's more breeding to try to, lessen that even more. And so now so it's like, it's important to understand that we know enough. It feels like, the most knowledgeable about of us still only know enough, to kind of be dangerous at some level. So starting at the lowest dose and recognizing, just like taking into account the impact on the whole animal with everything else that's going on. However, if nothing else has worked and the vet's okay with it, it's kind of like, let's give it a try. And just really, what I really want to emphasize is, working with somebody. It's one thing to experiment on yourself. It's quite another thing. So
Right.
Somebody listening or watching right now, if you're not sure where to start, I think it's really worth reaching out to you and really reaching out to a professional. Like, let's put a little program together and, and even learn, what to watch for. How do you know it's working? And this is where I feel like some of these modalities start to pair well with animal communication. It's kind of, which is the whole purpose, the underlying purpose of this podcast. It's like, let's say, because I've had people come to me and their animal is getting, that was another terrifying butterfly, wasn't it? Yeah, some of them really are as big as you are, huh? So, I had a client recently who, her animal was getting great veterinary care, but it just wasn't, she just knew there was something that still wasn't right. What else can we try? And these sorts of things. And sometimes you find out there actually is something else you can try. And the only way to find that out is to actually talk to the animal, which is what you and I, in our roles as animal communicators, it's what we can best serve you and your animal to do, is to explore some of these other options. So another thing that you work with, because you've got quite a menu, which it's taken a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of study, a lot of practice. It's not every day you run across somebody that has so many different things that they can offer to help an animal live their best life, so to speak, and feel at their best. We've chatted a little bit before this episode about how we're both Reiki trained, and I know you do energy work and you do intuitive energy work, and sometimes wrap in crystals. So I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that and how that can be helpful to animals, especially maybe animals that are a little anxious or overexcitable with feathers, right? Or fur, right?
Yeah. And I wasn't sure, and I didn't say this, you said it, and I feel like your voice got clipped a little bit when you said it, but just in case people were wondering, the CBDs are the non-psychoactive. So if you're thinking about a cannabis plant and you're thinking your animal is going to be high from taking CBD, the part that they're getting is not going to make them high. It's like, and you do want to make sure it's a very low amount. I mean, I haven't seen any products out there for animals that are giving them THC in an amount that they're gonna at all. It's usually like 0.03 or something or lower. Like, it's so low that they just don't get high, just in case anyone's wondering.
Well, and I think that's an important point, because I believe that different states have regulations as far as if you market something as a CBD product, it has to have, you know, X amount or less of.
Mhm.
And again, I mean, because these plants are all related, it just really boils down to doing what you said, Anne, just doing your research, making sure
Yeah.
you understand what product you're giving your pet and making sure it's got the stuff in it that is intended for the purpose that you're using it for. That's,
Right.
I'm really glad you emphasized that.
And I think, you know, just to mention, you know, what all of this kind of encompasses or boils down to is that we should all be educating ourselves. I think it's so important. I'm kind of getting a little off topic, but that is actually coming back to why I do these different things. It's because I don't know, I just had a driving force to be able to take care of my animals. It's not that I don't respect and know that there is a place for Western veterinary medicine. If my animal, God forbid, gets hit by a car, I want to know that I can get them to an emergency vet clinic and get them stitched up
Exactly.
fast.
Mhm.
Thank God for these things. But I saw things going on. I do, of course, I have to be careful what I say, but you know, I saw things and did my research and could see where, just like with people, side effects of certain drugs that were being given left and right, just kind of dispersed, that I didn't want my animals to have those kind of side effects. So it was so important to me. And I, you know, had this connection with animals, and I was already going into that world of energy work and animal communication, that I wanted to be able to do more. And I think this was on maybe the first episode where I mentioned that I started off doing Reiki prior to animal communication, or knowing that I was doing animal communication, like
Yep.
consciously. So I kind of I don't technically do traditional Reiki anymore. I kind of just do my own thing. I kind of just went off and ended up just doing my own energy work that worked for me. I don't use the Reiki symbols essentially. And I feel it out. You know, I use my own intuition as to what to do. And that just came along the way. So but doing animal communication, hearing what the animals were talking about, feeling discomfort in their body, led me to want to be able to put my hands on them, and do more. I mean, it was just something like in me that I was kind of born with, I guess, maybe, to want to do that. But the animal communication like opened that door to becoming more aware of it, like wanting to get in touch with that and be able to do it. So massage was where I started with that kind of a thing. Um, well, energy work, animal communication. And then I went to school for massage. And then I, after a while of doing just massage, wanted to do acupressure. So I did acupressure school. And I find that they all just kind of work together. Crystals can be used too when, you know, I just work very like intuitively. Whatever I feel the animal needs, I don't have like protocol, like it has to be this or this. However, if somebody asked me to come over and do lymphatic massage, or that, you know, their vet is requesting lymphatic massage, I will do lymphatic massage. But I can also show a person, you know, if you want to also support your pet, you could use these acupressure points as well, if you'd like. But I think it's just a matter of working intuitively with the animal, which is why, you know, animal communication is so important. And people might get caught up in thinking animal communication has to be, it's sometimes just plain old, we talked about this in the last episode.
Yep.
You know, it's just like knowing like this is what this animal needs right now. It's not always like a whole conversation about it. It can just be my hands are guided to do this. So I just feel they kind of all work together. But I kind of think I went off topic. So let you get back
No,
to your question.
I know. I actually think that was a beautiful way to kind of pull it all together, because I have often felt guided in connecting with an animal to mention something to their person about looking into Reiki, for instance. As a Reiki master, I'm able to send energy across distance, and I did several treatments on a cockatiel who had experienced some severe foot trauma with when he landed in a pot of boiling water. I mean, it's the kind of thing I don't even want to say, because it's just so, but it really, between that and the woman was already working with the holistic veterinarian, and the three of us together, because the holistic veterinarian sends a lot of people to me. And then I was, kind of receiving information. She was able to circle back and try some different things. And I reached out to my network to get some other ideas. And, just the intuitive piece of it, the secrets. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. It's so cheesy. The secret sauce, if you will, or the magic, or what makes it all come alive is dialing the animal into the conversation. And sometimes, I mean, just like any conversation, you might be going along, you might start casually chatting with somebody in line behind you at the grocery store, or on a Zoom call while you're waiting for the host to, launch everything. And serendipity, or what we call serendipity, happens, and we're intuitively led to talk to this person and not that one, or to adopt this animal and not this next one. And, are there really any accidents? And I have found that, animals always choose their people. They come into our lives to teach us, and they come into our lives to open us up. And sometimes that can happen, through the animal's health or wellness challenges, issues, past traumas. Like you mentioned, your German Shepherd had an injury prior to when he came into your life. Some of the modalities that you know how to use and work with are now helping him. It's like there's all kinds of different interesting like we could drive our minds crazy trying to follow them all and make it add up and to tie it up into a neat little package and make it all make logical sense. It never will. And yet being willing to not go there and allow the magic to be there anyway. I love the intuitive piece of it. And that's the beauty of working with it. It's not that, all of us are going to have the be all and end all. We don't all have the tremendous toolkit that you have, Anne. However, if I feel intuitively led, I now can pop someone over to you, and so and that's the way it works. It's like we want to work together,
exactly.
We want to connect.
Your bird knowledge is now
my bird knowledge. I just realized people listening to the podcast, all they're going to hear are these random little avian interjections every so and so. They're beautiful, aren't they? You're very tuneful. And obnoxious sounds of me giving belly kisses in the middle of a podcast. You gotta love that. It's a podcast about animals, guys. We just roll with it.
They're definitely gonna want to see this. They're gonna want to go to the video version.
You're gonna want to go to the YouTube. You're just at some point you're gonna have to just treat yourself and just see all this happening live in front of your eyes, or at least pre-recorded live. And it has been so good to have you for round number 2. Lots and lots of interesting stuff: essential oils, CBD, animal massage and acupressure, energy work, Reiki, crystals. There's a lot. Plus the cherry on top, another cheesy saying, I'm full of them today, is animal communication. And you were telling me before the podcast that you're also like me, you're a songwriter and a singer, and you have some music out and a children's book, and you do work with children who are intuitive, children who are interested in communicating with animals and opening those intuitive senses. So just lots to dive in and learn about, lots of free resources on your website. So I want to encourage anyone who's watching and or listening to go to your website. It's Anne Angelo Webb. It's intuitivetouchanimalcare.com. You can find me, Shannon, and of course Pearl, and Malty and Bruce, my redfoot tortoise and my box turtle, at animallovelanguages.com. If you have any questions for Anne, you can either find her on her website or ask the question in the show notes. I'll have all of her information, or you can just pop a comment over to one of us and we'll do our best. Anne, it's been so nice having you again, and we will definitely stay in touch. And now we know more about how we can work together as well. It's a different knowledge that we can trade. Yes. Pearl is always game to be a consultant as needed.
You and Pearl are my bird people.
Yep, absolutely. And we're up for it anytime. All righty. Those of you who are listening, watching, we so appreciated your time and your attention. Thank you for sharing a portion of your day with us. And we hope that you will give animal communication a try. It's worth it. We promise. Okay. Bye for now. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.